Hello everybody, welcome to Ask Cadence. My name is Pete Wright and I'm sitting here with John Patton. John, hello.
Hello, Pete.
I think our discussion today is predicated on an assumption that a vertical approach to project management yields greater consistent results. Would you agree with that?
Yes, we actually, in helping out an organization, look at, when we say vertical approach, we're looking at organization chart. Mm-hmm. And in any standard organization chart, you're going to see executive level, you're going to see some kind of middle management. Now, that's going to depend on size of organization, how flat they've chosen to be. And then there are the practitioners in first line management. I like to lump those together because they all need to have the same understanding of project management. That first level needs to coach, guide, and develop the project managers and the team members. And so they need to understand their role. So there's a role for each. Let's go over that again. Practitioners, line managers, that's one level. Another is middle management, another is executives. We look at their maturity. Is it very possible, that this has been a grassroots implementation of project management and executives are not on board, neither are middle managers. Sometimes we see as well executives on board, practitioners on board, but not middle management. The people who really are going to have a good deal of impact on the continuity and adaptation. And certainly risk and the way that the total organization can handle risk can be severely impacted by maturity, lack of maturity.
All right. Well, that's where we're going today, is talking about how organizations are able to handle risk if in this sort of vertically mature context. And it's important to think about this, at least in our discussion so far, because each role in the organization, the executive, middle management, and the practitioner role, all have really a different responsibility to handling, reporting, and addressing risk on a project. Would you agree?
Yes, Pete. And rather than give any kind of exhaustive or completely structured response to you today, what I want to do is give each of the three groups something to think about. What is the one thing that you should concentrate on when you think risk?
Okay, so typically when you start this discussion in a client setting, where do you start? Do you start at the level of the practitioner who's doing the work, or do you start?
Yeah, I'd like to start with practitioners, because I want to be able to say to their management, these people get risk, and they're using good risk disciplines. Mm-hmm. So what we're talking about is the risk cycle. There is a 6-stage risk cycle, and it includes risk identification, some qualitative and quantitative analysis, and then risk response planning. And there are a number of different responses. What practitioners, first line managers, and team members need to be doing is formally using this risk cycle on projects that we would say were medium or large in size. It needs to become a standard practice of project planning and control. Now, that's the one thing. Use the risk cycle, have risk plans for projects that are medium or large. Just a standard part of your planning is you'll go through that cycle, and then you'll get into monitoring and control on a monthly basis during the project. For middle managers, we need to sensitize them to their response whenever a problem is escalated. And it's, middle managers are good problem solvers, but they tend sometimes to be solitary problem solvers when it comes to projects where in reality they solve operational problems individually and in groups. So where the middle managers help the project manager identify who should be involved in problem solving when we need to escalate. That's their major role. Get the right resources working cooperatively on the problem immediately when it's escalated, and usually those are not the resources currently working on the project.
Or else the problem would have been solved.
It would have been solved.
So here we are, middle managers, the facilitators.
Yeah, they apply their perspective, they apply their expertise, and they bring in additional expert resource from their organizations to work on the problem.
Okay.
And they get these things taken care of very quickly.
Okay. So in taking on the executive role in the risk cycle, we're now talking about the biggest of the big issues and risks that come up on projects. So
Well,
how do you
Well,
guide
it's
them?
project selection, Pete. It is project selection. In the context of the strategies for the business, in the context of what's been proposed and what they've thought of in terms of the portfolio for this year, if there's a lesson brought forward, particularly in the financial businesses from 2009 and permeating conversations in 2010, it is risk management when it comes to selection. So for executives, we're looking for criteria for selection, for balancing, for prioritizing projects. The whole portfolio management side needs to really determine which of these projects have lower risk and high opportunity. Select those projects in this limited financial resources that we currently have to make sure that, to use a very trite phrase, we're getting the biggest bang for the buck. And we want projects that can be done quickly, that have lower risk associated with them, or if they are higher risk, high return, that these executives are requiring good risk planning around them from the project teams.
Knowing that this is a multivariate sort of decision process, how do you guide organizations to make these risk-reward decisions in a wildly varied economic cycle? I mean, we're coming off of we're in the middle of a recession here, or at least on the outward side of it. Do you counsel them differently in times like this, or is your advice pretty consistent?
No, it's really consistent, just to use the life cycle as a way to select projects and keep them moving forward, weed out projects that shouldn't be selected. I'm impressed over and over and over again about, with the intelligence, with the business acumen, with the smartness of so many people we see out there in industry. They know their business. They know it well. They've been successful at it. They just need to bring risk into the conversation when it comes to projects. They understand financial risk. And now we need to bring in this understanding of project risk at the executive level.
Excellent. Well, John, as ever, thank you for your time today. We appreciate you sitting down with the Ask Cadence audience, and to all of you for downloading, thank you again. And we'll join you once again next week on Ask Cadence.